spawning here. In the bottom left, hailing from China, it's QiaoGege spawning as the red Protoss.
And over in the top left, we got Dewalt once again, our Siberian Protoss player. Wonder how the weather is over in Siberia right now. He was telling me about how miserable it can be in the wintertime, but I'm sure it's nice and sunny.
I guess it
Over there
depends
right
on
now in August.
where
Right,
in Siberia you are, right? Like, there's some places which is like minus 40, I think. It's insane. But obviously, most places aren't quite like that in the winter. It depends on how unlucky you are, geographically speaking.
He was telling me that they need to keep their car on, turned on all winter. Otherwise, the engine will freeze. Yeah.
I'm surprised. It is cold over there. Yeah, I do think he's on the east, isn't he? I think he's actually quite close to the Chinese and Korean time zones, which is an advantage for him. He gets a lot of practice against these guys, but I guess it's a little bit colder over there.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, he's probably relatively close, at least in longitude, to where QiaoGege is at. But generally speaking, the foreign players and the Chinese players have a different approach to the game, don't you think?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we can talk a lot about that. I mean, Mihu, for example, basically, revamps the entire approach to TVP with his more like Fire Factory-esque style of just way more units, just one upgrades, and focusing way more on the army side of the spectrum than doing that usual like tech mech, trying to get up to +3 weapons as soon as possible, and showed a new path, a new way of playing the matchup. And a lot of these Chinese guys are doing that kind of thing where they've got a totally different way of looking at the game, and some of them even inspire the pro gamer Koreans.
We've got QiaoGege opening up with a Nexus first, so taking a page out of the book of Dewalt earlier in this series. He opened Nexus first against Bonyth. It didn't go too well for him, but it looks like QiaoGege trying to attempt the exact same thing. Forge Nexus. And he's going to throw down this cannon here shortly with a single Zealot. Dewalt does not have the luxury of throwing down a proxy gas or stealing the gas of QiaoGege here like Bonyth did in his game.
Yeah, it is going to more or less be the same kind of setup, with the quick forge, make an early cannon, and what have you. Dewalt, though, he's not quite as adept at Bonyth at finding those little niche timing windows to try and exploit a build like this. So maybe QiaoGege will get away with murder, and Dewalt will just have to swallow this advantage that the Chinese players already going to start to eke out.
Yeah, I mean, getting last scout is miserable here for Dewalt. He's going to get nothing except for just seeing that cannon. He's not even going to be able to start optimizing for timing here yet. He's still building Zealots, so these Zealots are kind of going to go by the wayside. They're not going to be very useful here coming up. There we go. He sees the cannon now. He's going to lose the probe, most likely. No, he manages at least to save the probe. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, luckily these guys are a high enough level where they're looking at their workers the majority of the time, thankfully. So we don't usually see units die for free. And that's kind of the main theme in StarCraft in general. Once you approach the S rank and beyond, you tend to not bleed as many units. Like at A rank, you can execute the build orders pretty good, but at S rank, that's when you actually start getting it dialed in terms of bleeding units for free and what have you. So it's quite common for these higher level guys to avoid those kinds of mishaps, generally speaking.
Second cannon. See, there we go. This is what I was talking about from the Bonyth or from the Dewalt game. Usually you would have 2, 3, 4 cannons slowly building up here at the front to make sure that you don't get broken early so that the tech can come online. So more of the traditional way of opening after the Nexus first here. The Nexus with cannon coming from QiaoGege. He's going to try and probably get into DTs after this, or just go straight into High Templar with Storm. Actually, I don't see a Citadel. Do we have a Citadel? Okay, no, he's actually going to just go for yeah, just mass Dragoon after the fact. It was just last time, the only
It's pretty
difference
common.
last time Dewalt off of one cannon managed to get all these gateways out, whereas
Yeah.
QiaoGege gonna be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to do a tactile play from a Nexus first. Generally speaking, you just want to go for muscle, and usually a quick way of doing that is just going into as many gateways as you can afford and just pumping out as many Dragoons as humanly possible. And unfortunately for Dewalt, he did go Zealot Goon initially, so there was like even no timing on punishing this cannon opening from QiaoGege to begin with. And QiaoGege didn't cut any corners. He made a second cannon on time and a third to just prevent any kind of shenanigans like we saw in that Bonyth versus Dewalt game. You can see just how safe QiaoGege is playing right now, even throwing down cannon in his main base just in case it was going to be some kind of DT drop play.
Yeah, I mean, DT drop could be a great counter to this. If you've got all your cannons in the front, you're not going to have a very fast robo to be able to get detection in your main base very easily. How is he going to handle this Reaver play, though? Because he doesn't really have an answer for this. He's just got a few goons here, and this Reaver can eventually start to pick at these cannons. He can hit multiple cannons at a time, especially if he targets that middle one. Gonna go ahead and pick up and run away. Will he take damage on the shuttle? Just a little bit here so far. But once again, putting the pressure on. Another dive forward onto that shuttle. Almost picks that up. Pick up the Reaver. Oh, lots of kills here for Dewalt as he starts to bust through. He's going to take the fight with the cannon. Probably should back up a little bit longer here. Wait for the Reaver to do some more damage, but he's breaking through. Still just pushing forward here and breaking the cannons. I think Dewalt may have just done it.
This is crazy. I mean, there will be some reinforcing Dragoons, and this Reaver and Dragoon combo is super softened up. The probes have to evacuate. I don't think that Scarab's going to connect. It's definitely going to dud out. Yeah, definitely does. But I mean, as long as he's careful with that Shuttle Reaver combination, could be really great now for Dewalt to, get a tactical snipe on this fast Nexus play. There is a Zealot scouting the main base for QiaoGege, seeing what's what in Dewalt's base. Sees that it's just 2 gate into expand, so won't have a crazy amount of production behind this. Maybe he can bat this back at the last possible minute. These Dragoons are dangerously low for Dewalt. He's target firing the weakened ones. Good micro from the shuttle, though, picking up that Dragoon to avoid his base shots. Does now go on to top of the Reaver. Finally picks off that shuttle, though. And looks like that Nexus might not fall now with the reinforcing Dragoons coming down the ramp. The Reaver's not long for this world. He is targeting the Nexus, trying to get a tactical stop, but he might actually kill it. He's going to kill that Nexus, saying that's a big win for Dewalt. Has the tech advantage of those Reavers as well, but QiaoGege does have a lot of gateways to produce from, but not a lot of juice left in the engine. And he wants to throw down a Nexus, so he can't just mass produce Dragoons and go on the counter offensive. Dewalt has equalized the game state.
This is a great bust from Dewalt. This is what you would expect, just making those Reavers, going up and trying to hit the cannons, baiting the Dragoons out into a poor fight, and then overwhelming the cannons with the Dragoon Reaver play. Excellently done there. Just, yeah, I'm surprised we don't see more teched out plays. What I remember from casting PvP in the past is that there's generally, when you come across the map with that Reaver play, generally there's like a storm waiting for you if you've got your tech for the Nexus first player, rounding out at the right time. You just have storms to deal with the Reavers, and then you can kind of handle the defense. The Reaver player is forced to go ahead and expand. Maybe things have changed in PvP. I'm not quite as on the up and up as I used to be.
I mean, it used to be that, a lot of these players were going for Templar transitions right off the bat, but they figured out that it's usually more beneficial to do a tempo play and go into Reavers. Even though Templars are the superior choice, it takes too long to get the energy on the Templars to make them viable in the early to mid game transition. So overall, you're probably going to go into Reavers because it's just too much of a gamble to expect the Storms to do enough heavy lifting, and there'll always be those timing windows where they can hit you just before you have enough critical amount of energy to hold off an attack or something. So you will see Templars utilized a lot as, very good late game counter to those Reavers. It's just a matter of who wants to blink first in the game of chicken, because usually the guy playing greedier by getting that superior tech online falls behind the curve in terms of tempo.
Looks like QiaoGege is feeling a little bit more confident to move out on the map. He's sitting out here with a big clump of Dragoons, whereas Dewalt very defensive in his base, wants to make sure that everything goes well here after that Nexus bust. He knows his position is pretty good. But in fact, QiaoGege, I mean, he's still keeping up here. Even though he lost the Nexus and lost so many Dragoons, he's actually ahead in supply. He's got more probes. This is pretty impressive stuff. Like, he just really hit this build well. His mechanics showing through so far.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these Chinese players are just playing out of their minds. They're not always the best in terms of their like decision making and what have you, but in terms of just raw mechanical ability, they're pretty up there in terms of like comparing them to some of the pro gamers as well. Kind of insane, really, what they've been able to do in such a short pace of time. Some of these guys have been around for a long time, though. QiaoGege has been in the scene for many years. Definitely a very respectable Protoss. I think Zhanhun currently is considered the better Protoss at the present time, but QiaoGege definitely up there in the rankings as well. Going to be trying to set up a pincer maneuver on this force of Dewalt. Reavers now coming out to try and hold the line, but I don't know if they're going to be long for this world. This flank is just really well set up here from QiaoGege. He's going to definitely start to target fire down these two Reavers of Dewalt and gobble up this entire army, surging ahead in supply. Really well executed pincer maneuver from him. Dewalt's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think this is a moment here where Dewalt just scratches his head like, didn't I kill your Nexus and put you back? Shouldn't you be behind right now? How come you have so many units?
I mean,
but yeah, he's gonna be confused here as to how he got so overwhelmed. Just the angle of the fight was very good for QiaoGege, and the amount of units he was able to pump out, delaying the Reaver tech, but just getting these Zealots out. That's usually not how you play against a Reaver player, but it somehow ends up working in his favor.
Yeah, and QiaoGege taking a very fast third base behind this. It gets scouted by Dewalt, so Dewalt knows what he's up against. He knows he kind of has to play the role of aggressor here soon. Tries to sneak his own probe out to the 12 o'clock position. That gets shut down and eliminated by QiaoGege. He's also got another potential flank set up here. Most of his army moving to that 12 o'clock pocket, and some Dragoons on the periphery here towards the south. He might start to collapse on Dewalt's army from both sides if Dewalt isn't careful. He's got a lot of Zealots being produced and leg enhancements just about to finish up. So QiaoGege trying to play keep away for just a few seconds for that speed upgrade kicks in. Then he's going to absolutely pounce on top of this small contingency of Dewalt to the north. He has got Reaver support still, slugging it out to try and get some good connections to make some trades go his way, but needs to be so careful against this composition of QiaoGege. Archons would be technically optimal now for Dewalt to be produced. I'm not sure if he's got a Templar Archives, but if he could manage it, it would be great to get a few Archons into his composition.
Usually the Reavers make mincemeat out of the Zealots, just absolutely blasting through them. It's just that with the way that QiaoGege has been fighting and taking these fights, he's been able to spread out his army so well that the Reavers haven't been able to get those massive connections that they're looking for. Get that really amazing splash damage, and now he's set himself up. He's going back into this same pocket where he lost the fight earlier, and perhaps will get surrounded once again. You can see those Zealots just get absolutely annihilated. Let's see if he can get some good shots on this front line of Zealots, really wipe them out early. There's a lot of Zealots to the south here. They're trying to spread out as best they can. They do a lot of DPS to the Dragoons here at the front line, but the Reavers are starting to rip them apart to pieces, Zhan. There is way too much damage coming out of these Reavers, and Dewalt is holding strong here. The Reavers are still alive, and he's going to be able to push everything back.
I'm getting some chills saying that was really great positional play from Dawid. He kept the Reavers towards the north, out of firing range of the majority of QiaoGege's Dragoons, and they were eating through those Zealots, and it took a long time before the Dragoons could collapse close enough to have a hope of trying to snipe that Shuttle Reaver combo, and it was too late by that time. Now he's looking to try and eliminate this third base at the 6 o'clock position. We do have Templars out for QiaoGege, though. He will have the superior tech of that Sonic Storm to start leveraging against Dewalt. Needs to be careful that Shuttle taking a few hits from that cannon at the 6 o'clock. QiaoGege technically has superior tech right now, but eco advantage for Dewalt. He has his own third base at that 12 o'clock position, and after losing the third base at the 6 o'clock, QiaoGege is in a little bit of trouble. Going to be playing catch up, taking his natural third. Has to even wait for a little bit of time here for those minerals to tick by to even afford to make that. And meanwhile, Dewalt already going to start mining at this third base.
He's got the probe advantage now as well. 6 o'clock. Had quite a few workers there that were all lost. And Dewalt here gonna get that full advantage, take full advantage of his mineral base that's just come up here at the 12. We do have Templar, so the tech advantage is starting to go towards QiaoGege. It's definitely a superior attack. Having those storms over the Reavers, you could start to throw those down right on top of the shuttle as they're dropping out the Reavers, and then the Zealots can really do their work. So technically, we're going to see QiaoGege have a bit of an advantage in this fight, but in terms of just overall mass, I think Dewalt definitely has the better end. He's going to put himself into a pretty tight position here, though. If he comes across this bridge, QiaoGege, the reaction's a little bit slow. Everything gets across the bridge before QiaoGege can react. And so he's just going to go out on maybe a counter-attack path, cancel the Nexus, and look for a better position, a better engagement somewhere else on the map.
Yeah, that was some good scouting there from Dewalt with that observer finding that weak spot. But now QiaoGege trying to collapse on top of this 12 o'clock. Force a trade. Direct engagement now. Massive conga line on both sides. Storm goes down on top of the two Reavers. Dewalt having a hard time picking them up. Both of the Reavers and Shuttle going down. Storm's going down left and right onto the flanks of Dewalt's Dragoon forces, while wiping out the majority of that. Now challenging this solo Reaver on the high ground. Some cannons warping in. Probes pulled off the line to try and hold that ramp desperately. Also slugging out the Reaver just outside the edge of that Sonic Storm, and to find another Scarab connection or two. I'm not sure it's good enough. I think there's too much meat on the bone for Dewalt to chew through here. Even an Archon added to the mix for some extra tanking. Now as QiaoGege looks to respond in kind to Dewalt, collapsing on that 12 o'clock pocket while he holds the line at the base of that ramp as well, preventing Dewalt from getting in as a defender. There's a shuttle though coming here onto the high ground with some a pair of Reavers, and with QiaoGege holding the low ground to prevent reinforcements. Maybe Dewalt can still defend this base. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but he's making a game of it.
Yeah, he's going to try to bring these Reavers forward. Got to get that pickup, hot pickup here for that Reaver. Manages to keep that alive. Oh, he doesn't get the hot pickup the second time, though, and he will lose both of these Reavers without getting a further shot there. Losing this Nexus is a huge blow to Dewalt, but stroke of brilliance here from QiaoGege to make that last attack work.
Yeah, I mean, that was essentially all in from QiaoGege. He's basically mined out now completely. If that attack had failed in any way, he was in a lot of trouble. But as it stands, it looks like Dewalt wants to go tit for tat. He wants to see if he can maybe try and snipe that Nexus at the 6 o'clock. Problem is, there's a DT here. Observer slightly off to the side. We'll try and get that into a better position to thwart the warp blades chewing through his army. But just as he achieves that, now he's being collapsed upon by more additional forces of QiaoGege. Lots of Zealots streaming forward ahead of the Dragoons to tank, and still with an Archon and a High Templar in that standing army with a splash damage threat that Dewalt has to respect and back away from. Slightly superior positioning from our Chinese player is starting to eke out an advantage and ultimately a win. Now that he's got this third base mining and Dewalt's almost mined out.
Yeah, and you can make a lot better use of these dwindled resources as the player with the Templar. Those Templar do not cost a lot of minerals, but the gas is ever flowing. It's always going to be there, and so he can just eke out more and more Templar. Keeps the storms going here. Every time the Dragoons try to engage, another storm is there to meet them, following up with the kill on this Reaver. Another storm there as well to finish that off, and GG. Dewalt has to tap out. What an excellent play there by QiaoGege. Crazy, crazy game, though, back and forth.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great showing yet in this non-Korean championship, but that is going to start helping him put some wins on the board if he can take it all the way here against Dewalt. We're still not over yet, though. That was just game number 1 between these two guys. We're going to be jumping into game number 2 between these two. It's on Eclipse. Let's get it started. Spawning here in the top right. 1-0 down currently. Can he redeem himself? It's Dewalt as the blue Protoss.
QiaoGege showing us the power of Templar. He spawned down here in the bottom left, the red Protoss.
I mean, that wasn't a one-sided game by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think that this could be a very close series. I feel a little bit bad there for Dewalt because there was quite a few times he was in such a great position and overcame that Nexus first in quite a convincing way initially, and probably was, like you say, scratching his head a little bit like, I killed your Nexus and I'm still in this much of a pickle? Like, what's going on?
Chop it up to that engagement, the first engage after the Nexus was killed, when Dewalt came out with the Reaver Dragoon army and got kind of surrounded by Zealot Dragoon. If the Zealot and Dragoon is forced into kind of a choked up area where they can't get that sort of surround, the Reaver will just melt all of the slow Zealots, and the Dragoons can hold the ground, prevent the Dragoons of his opponent diving on top of those Reavers, and then you just have such a good position. He could have ended up winning the game right then and there, but he underestimated QiaoGege. He thought, maybe you're going for some tech, maybe you're, building Reavers or Templars or what have you, and that was just not the case. QiaoGege was massing army and waiting for that attack to come.
Right. And I believe this was an 11 gas from QiaoGege and a 12 gas from Dewalt. So are we going to be seeing a very quick tech play here from QiaoGege? I mean, he could do something like a DT build. Usually if you're going for a little bit of an extra faster gas, it indicates either you want, really fast range or really fast robo, or, a very quick Citadel DT follow-up or what have you. Have to see how that comes into play, or maybe he just likes to sometimes take a faster gas. I mean, these Chinese players definitely do have a new way of looking at the game than some of these Europeans do. Have to wait and see what QiaoGege's got in mind for Dewalt here in game number 2.
Doing a little bit of harassment here, but that will be put to an end as the Zealot comes out. Again, no manner pylons from either side. Both players just focused on their builds and looking to harass their opponent's workers with their probes. Doesn't cost anything aside from the lost mining time of sending this probe across the map. It's super important to get this early scouting information. Oh my gosh. QiaoGege almost get the kill. He does get the kill.
Man.
Wow.
Crazy. You almost never see that. I mean, usually you see a bit of bullying and they have to cycle out the probes on the gas. It delays their gas, so they're like 20 gas behind what they should be or something. Losing the probe like that is crazy. Not only is that a massive advantage now in terms of worker count, but also psychological damage has been done. I mean, Dewalt has been breached under his skin now, I imagine, and we'll maybe be on the teeniest of tiny tilts here, unless he can just, take a deep breath and keep calm and collected like he needs to. And there's going to be that very fast robo play out of QiaoGege here after taking that range. So, I mean, this is kind of crazy, though. I can't even believe he managed to kill that probe this early on.
Yeah, it's hard not to rage when something like that happens. It's not supposed to. You were talking earlier about S-rank players and how they're able to keep every single worker or every single unit alive. They're not bleeding anything unnecessarily. And
Right.
Dewalt just lost a probe to a probe, man, in his main. This is this is not what's supposed to happen to an S rank player, and he's got to be feeling a bit of pressure here. He's in fact going to go for a Nexus with a 3-gate follow-up. Let's see if he's able to hold on against whatever pressure QiaoGege is bringing towards him, most likely a Reaver.
Yeah, I mean, this is Observer first before Support Bay as well. QiaoGege wants to kind of hedge his bets against the possibility of something like a DT play. And maybe they'll help Dewalt out a little bit. And, he could turn this into a favorable situation regardless of losing 5% of his economy early on and what have you. So, yeah, this might not end up being a big deal for Dewalt. Might be a little bit of a blow to his ego early game, but ultimately he could turn this into a good position. And yeah, I mean, with the slightly delayed Reaver from the observatory first, I mean, it'll be a little bit trickier for QiaoGege to come in here and do anything. And that free gate is going to come online in a big way, and he'll have a nice, healthy count of Dragoons.
Yeah, this works out all right for Dewalt. He's getting a bit of a build order advantage here. Throwing caution to the wind, not getting that observer early. A DT play would absolutely destroy him here, but he's gotten a bit lucky in that QiaoGege being very defensive, very careful. What we've seen from him so far, right? So you can expect to see it again. Last game, building up lots of cannons, even building a cannon in his mineral line in the main, making sure he covers everything, every base. Well, Dewalt just takes a bit of a risk, and it's going to end up paying off for him. We'll get that robo up eventually and get some observers out, but for now, he's just relying on the fact that QiaoGege is going to be defensive and taking advantage of him in terms of probes and getting this economy out a little bit sooner.
Yeah, observer of QiaoGege sees the news that this Nexus has been alive and kicking for a while. The Wall of Dragoons also indicating a 3-gate play. He knows what he's up against. Eventually, he might be able to do something about this with his slightly more teched out variant of having these earlier Reavers, but for the time being, Dewalt going to be enjoying this slight economic advantage. QiaoGege, to be honest with you, kind of sitting pretty himself, though. I mean, I don't know what it is about these Chinese players, but they always seem to figure out how to just squeeze that extra little bit of juice out of the orange. We foreigner players seem to get most of the juice, 95%, but they get all of the juice out of the orange sometimes.
Pretty good defensive position here. I don't see Dewalt breaking through this, but he's looking for some pokes. Ends up losing a Dragoon in trade of a Zealot. Not the best trade there, but he still has that triple Dragoon coming forward here. A Reaver is going to be popping out soon. He's keeping the pressure on and keeping QiaoGege back. There's a moment here where QiaoGege's not got a shuttle just yet, so there is a possibility of just diving forward and sniping down a Reaver or two, but that could really backfire without a Reaver here of his own.
Yeah.
As soon as those Reaver shots go off and a bunch of the Dragoons die, then QiaoGege could suddenly become the aggressor, diving on top of those damaged Dragoons and finishing a bunch of them off.
Yeah, some AI pylons being made there by QiaoGege, just in case there was a breach attempt from Dewalt. Although I imagine he won't have to be as defensive as he's anticipating. It doesn't look like Dewalt's going to pull the trigger on a full-on assault just yet. Looks like he's maybe looking to find a high to low ground engagement on the center of the board, trying to bait out the Chinese player a little bit here. But actually, QiaoGege going to go for a drop play, circling around the edge of the map with 2 Reavers. Got the shuttle speed on the way in just a few moments here. We'll be finished up and we'll maybe launch a massive assault onto the mineral lines of Dewalt. And yeah, it looks like Dewalt's game plan is trying to get a high ground advantage in the center of the board. And this shuttle might absolutely devastate him. That spotter pylon is not going to see it.
Man, I feel bad for Dewalt right here. Look at all the spotters he's got on the left-hand side of the map and the right-hand side. Oh, he just sees it. He sees it.
Yeah, it's too late.
Does he notice, though? Oh, the Dragoons are coming back here. He's going to pull the probes. Some pretty big hits there on those probe lines. Oh, that's painful.
Yeah,
Quite a
that's
bit is
really
going to go down
painful.
here for Dewalt, and he's just going to leave one Reaver behind. Sacrificial Reaver there does go down, but QiaoGege will get away with this. Look at in QiaoGege's base. He's got no vision over the north part of his base. If there was a drop coming in
Yeah.
from Dewalt, he would have been absolutely eviscerated. I definitely do feel bad for Dewalt here, considering how little information or how little scouting is going on for QiaoGege, but yet he
Right.
still manages to get damage and doesn't take any of his own.
On either side as well, saying like he could have done the same thing, attacking around that angle and going into QiaoGege's natural. There's no spotter pylons down there either, and kind of, yeah, devastating for Dewalt that he's not going to be punishing a lack of scouting here from the Chinese player. I mean, it is what it is though. Instead, going to be trying to search for, he's got a lot of Dragoons available to him. No shuttle mobility for these slugged out Reavers in the natural. Maybe he can take advantage of that and start to get on top of those Reavers that are just chilling right now, like fish in a barrel. Finally, the shuttle is there, but a little bit of position. Dewalt trying to seize victory from the claws of defeat here, but here comes the shuttle and Reaver combo back into Dewalt's natural for some further harassment damage while he's distracted, trying to break QiaoGege.
Ooh, big hits there on the probes for QiaoGege. Oh, this 3 Reaver, he's got to micro this Dewalt, not picking up his Reaver. He loses it. That's a huge advantage that was just ripped away. Diving on top of these Reavers now. That shuttle is super low. He's going to be able to take it out. The, oh my god, the shield battery doing so much heavy lifting here, keeping that Reaver alive. Looks like Dewalt has stabilized back at home, and so he will be able to pay attention here now, but he can't break the space.
I feel vindicated because I've advised using shield batteries a lot more, and I'm liking QiaoGege utilize him like this. Dewalt did shut down that shuttle and Reaver in his natural expansion earlier on during all of that madness, but couldn't quite seize the day there with his forces, though he is enjoying a pretty healthy worker count currently. 44 probes for Dewalt to just 33 from QiaoGege right now. Dewalt in an okay position if he can just maintain the current positions and doesn't take any losses to any unexpected Reaver shuttle combinations in the future. QiaoGege rotating around the periphery of the map with an observer Dragoon hit squad to intercept any shuttles and observers and what have you. And will Dewalt want to try and take a third base from this position or play a bit more aggro? We've got some probes laying down spotter pylons in the bottom right just to play a little bit safer and make it harder to sneak shuttles around the map, and that's definitely a good start.
As a contingency of Dragoons that may end up getting cut off. This is pretty important.
Oh.
These Dragoons are going to get completely trapped. The Reavers are going to be dropped here on the right-hand side. Can he get some good shots off? He's actually going to run right up and start to target down these Reavers. So he will end up losing the Reaver shuttle. And that Reaver goes down. Quite a few Dragoons end up falling here for QiaoGege, but that was probably making the best out of a bad situation. There wasn't quite enough Dragoons on the right-hand side for that perfect surround for Dewalt.
Yeah, that was really well done from QiaoGege, actually, avoiding complete disaster and rejoining those retreating Dragoons up with a fresh set. Really well done there. Really decisive unit control and targeting from QiaoGege, and punishing the attempt there from Dewalt. Another pair of Reavers trying to make their way into the main base. Dragoons have been alerted and are trying to get into position to stop that, but the Sim City hurting against that effort a little bit. These Reavers will get into pretty good firing positions, starting to eliminate a few of the straggler probes and bottleneck these Dragoons as well. He will have collapsed on top of this shuttle Reaver combination and take them down gradually, but not before weathering quite a few powerful Scarab hits. Because of the Sim City, it's very difficult to get in there and eliminate those 2 Reavers on the ground with just pure Dragoon.
He's having a hard time here. Gonna bring up a Reaver of his own, but at the same time, QiaoGege attacking the front. This Reaver... Are these Dragoons over on the left-hand side? They're actually going to catch the Reaver shuttle, but at the same time, the natural... Okay, he does manage to save himself at the natural as well, so that was a great pickup. Just a lot of chaos going on here right now with these shuttle Reavers diving into the main.
Yeah, it's absolute madness, honestly, and I mean, good thinking from both sides. I like that Dewalt, went on the intercept vector at the natural third to kill that shuttle Reaver, and equally QiaoGege applying a lot of pressure while Dewalt was distracted, looking for opportunities of attack vectors to exploit. Good scouting here from QiaoGege with 2 observers seeing exactly the army movements of Dewalt right now. I'm not sure if he caught that shuttle at the bottom right, so this shuttle could make something happen in the natural of QiaoGege. I'm not sure if he identified that. It doesn't look like Dewalt wants to pull the trigger, though. Looks like he wants to keep that shuttle with his army and look for an engagement here. Some Dragoons slightly out of position to the northern flank, but now rejoining with their brothers to the south, and Reavers in full support, unloading in good firing position, but QiaoGege circumnavigating disaster by just staying off to the left right now, waiting for his own shuttle and Reavers to be stationed at his rally point location with Reaver's damage upgrade as well. So pulling no punches is QiaoGege. He wants to trade toe for toe. Currently, though, Dewalt enjoying a pretty healthy supply lead. If he just trades well from this position, he's going to be looking great. But still hasn't gotten out of the woods just yet.
Dangerous spot here as QiaoGege runs forward. Dewalt just barely able to pick that up, making sure that he had momentum in that shuttle to back away. Pretty difficult control that's being displayed here by Dewalt, but he manages to keep his Reavers alive. Both players are starting to run a bit dry. Need to get that 3rd base online, and Dewalt will take his a little bit ahead of schedule, make sure that he will continue on with 2 bases, but both players are running out in their mains.
Yeah, it looks like QiaoGege trying to anticipate the shuttle movements to the south and intercept them, but pulling himself slightly out of position to do so. Now Dewalt taking a pretty good head-on engagement. One of the Reavers does bite the dust, though, and the positioning of the Reavers slightly better for QiaoGege, so Dewalt wisely pulling back now, and that was a very good trade for QiaoGege. Overall, they're now almost equal on supply, and there was a much wider gap just a few moments ago, so killing a few more units than Dewalt did during that engagement. I mean, Dewalt still has a pretty hefty worker lead as well, so they pretty much have the same identical army sizes, just Dewalt with more workers. And with that 3rd base going to be coming online soon, the pressure is on QiaoGege to make something happen. He's going to have to be the aggressor here, and he is starting to launch a large attack through this center lane. Dewalt set up defensively. The observer of QiaoGege sees everything. He knows he's going to have to do something maybe a little bit fancy to make this attack work out for him.
That was a crazy fight with 4 Reavers on both sides. It gets a little bit weird at this point in PvP when both players are stuck building only Reavers, and the Reaver number becomes a little bit too much to handle on both sides. Like, how can you micro 3 or even 4 shuttles with 5, 6, 7 Reavers at a time? It gets too cumbersome to try to control all of that. He loses a Reaver here initially. A little bit of a slower pickup there from Dewalt. He's going to try and get a shot off, but this is something we see pretty often in PvP, is just the trade back and forth with both players picking up on time and just not taking any damage.
Yeah, Dewalt's had a lot of practice against Bonyth in doing this, but he usually gets the shorter end of the stick in that lottery. But, I mean, he's doing an okay job of it thus far. Did bite the dust with one of his Reavers a moment ago. Does snipe down one of the observers of QiaoGege, limiting the vision advantage. That's the main thing. If they have good vision with observers, they can do these tactical plays with the shuttle Reavers a lot easier. So if you can snipe 1 or 2 of their observers like this now, if he kills this observer of QiaoGege, it's going to help him out a lot, both defensively and offensively. Catches the shuttle. These Reavers are dead in the water on the eastern flank. Picks off one of them with base shuttle shots. Does lose a few Dragoons for his efforts, though. Oh, these Reavers are out of position, though. Dewalt in a little bit of trouble. Needs to come here and save these Reavers ASAP. Does have to just unload them. Shuttle goes down, and both of the Reavers. As a result, he might have to pincer and collapse onto this army from both sides. Still, though, with 2 Reavers holding the line on this eastern flank, QiaoGege trading pretty well. Maybe Dewalt's got enough to chew through this army still, but the trades have not been going his way thus far. This is definitely an army advantage now for QiaoGege.
Yeah, what I was saying earlier, really shining through. Too many Reavers for Dewalt to deal with all of them. He was kind of forgetting about those ones on the left-hand side and left them in a very difficult position. The surround from QiaoGege is excellent, but QiaoGege needs to win now. He doesn't need to just get damage or get a good fight. He needs to win because he's 1 base down, and the longer this goes on, the worse position he's going to be in.
No, absolutely, saying astute observation. And that third base is chugging away, getting more and more additional minerals for Dewalt here. And the natural for QiaoGege will be mined out in just a few moments. Pretty good Reaver connections onto these Dragoons, though. Dewalt still has to keep trading well himself. The hold line takes out one of the Reavers of QiaoGege. And that, though, is some massive Scarab connections onto these Dragoons of QiaoGege. I think Dewalt is starting to do it. There's not enough left in the tank. QiaoGege taps out, went all in on trying to do something there, but wasn't able to find the win condition. And Dewalt holds the line with an equalizer.
Yeah, QiaoGege, he had to win that last fight, that latest fight. Had so many Reavers juggling. Was actually doing a better job of it than Dewalt there, but the economic position was too strong. So many more Dragoons coming out of the rallies, and eventually Dewalt's able to hold that. Crazy game, though. We got to see sort of the most wacky side of PvP when both players just get stuck on Reavers and neither player can transition into High Templar Storm, that sort of thing. They're just battling it out with 6-7 Reavers. It gets so wild.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, this is a real showdown between these two contenders, who I believe are currently equal on the table as well. So whoever wins this series will then be taking an advantage in the wins and losses. So QiaoGege might not be looking so pretty if Dewalt wins this final decider match. But let's get right into it, guys. We're going to have game number 3 on Polestar. Spawning here in the bottom right, tying things up. It's Dewalt from Russia as the blue Protoss.
Down in the bottom left, QiaoGege are Chinese in the red.
That is a good color for him, considering his home nation. I'm looking forward to this final match between these two guys. This has been a really interesting showdown. Really good execution from both sides, I would say. I think Dewalt, having so many games against Bonyth over the years, is really doing some heavy lifting for him in these trades against these like battles of attrition. When it comes down to it, he does seem to be able to get one over even these like really high level Chinese players, even, it seems.
Yeah, that could be a factor. Practicing over and over again. I was thinking that when we were talking about it, Bonyth might be the perfect practice partner for Dewalt, helping him to learn how to get the better end of these trades by just putting him through the fire over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Learning how to make those trades the best that they can be, and complementing his already very excellent mechanics. Rounding him out as a player. It really does feel like Dewalt has everything that is necessary to be one of the top pros, but there are some small things that are missing here and there. Can he put it all together and beat QiaoGege today?
Well, he's already got one win on the board, on the table. He might be able to accomplish more and more in this series of the round robin. We've got 4 days of this. The top 2 will go through to the winners bracket. The bottom 2 will be eliminated, and the 5th and 6th will be going through to the losers bracket. I mean, anything can happen in round robins. It's kind of an absolute chaos show, but it's not best of 1 round of robin. You know, this is best of 3. So I would say this is one of the most exciting round robins we've had in a long time, Sam.
Definitely gives us a lot of games to cast and to watch to really get a good sense of where these players are at and their relative skill levels before we get into those later stages. We've got pretty much mirrored builds here on both sides. You can see the Protoss players realizing that on Polestar, just a single Zealot can block the ramp can be a big advantage, just completely blocking out your opponent's ability to get that scouting information. And so both players going to be utilizing that and getting a little bit of privacy here inside their base, not allowing the opponent to glean anything on either side.
And because QiaoGege did a last scout here, he made a second Zealot for safety, just in case this was some kind of 2-gate pressure out of Dewalt. Dewalt did the same thing on Radiant when he was in the top left. And yeah, sometimes when you get the last scout, it is what it is, and you got to bite the bullet just to be safe and hedge your bets. If you don't know what's what, you might just die if you don't make that second Zealot. So a tiny advantage there for Dewalt, not having to make an additional Zealot. But not a big deal either.
Yeah, these two going to be hitting pretty much the same build here. Just one extra gateway is coming down for Dewalt. So we may end up seeing just a slightly faster Nexus out of QiaoGege and just 1 or 2 more Dragoons from Dewalt.
Yeah. We'll see who wants to blink first and change the variation of the build order with a fast Nexus or something. Usually you don't see that fast of Nexus in this matchup just because it's so risky to go for something like that. I don't think he's going to get that. He actually shouldn't chase this probe because he runs the risk of taking a lot of hits onto this Dragoon. Actually, QiaoGege kind of hanging back and now going to try and pounce on that Dragoon. Luckily, Dewalt's on top of things. He's played enough games against people like Bonyth, where he's got that kind of dialed in. We talked about that earlier. In the Bonyth versus Dewalt series, how these players know just how many inches they can get away with. And you can see here this tactical attacks from Dewalt, getting 2 shots and only receiving 1 there, softening up the shields of his opponent. It's not really going to amount to a whole lot, but it shows confidence in his execution. You know, when you're playing with fire like that, that's the kind of thing we see out of Bonyth so many times, like going for these little niche trades. And it's a sign of confidence and deep understanding.
I think we are going to see a Nexus here pretty soon out of one of these players. Looks like Dewalt may actually be going for it first. Throwing down this Nexus here, has the probe in position to do so, has the observer out. Both players going to be able to get that, finally get that scouting information here on Polestar, figure out what each other is doing. As long as they don't snipe each other's observer here initially. Yeah, he's looking for it. Can he find this observer? It's just sliding by on the periphery.
This is so good from QiaoGege. Like, he understands exactly where he needs to go to try and thread the needle for that observer to still sneak his way in and check for the Nexus timing. And QiaoGege's own Nexus a little bit ahead of schedule compared to Dewalt's zone. He's going to see that good news now, but we want to be a little bit tentative and careful, knowing that if there's no Nexus here from Dewalt, maybe he's got a few more units than me. Going to be slugging out that Reaver to the natural, make sure he's as safe can be. It's 1 more Dragoon advantage for Dewalt, but 2 Zealots and a Reaver here for QiaoGege. Going to easily bat that back and soften up one of those Dragoons going forward. Observer of Dewalt confirming the main base, but for the time being, both players will have to sit back.
It's played out pretty much how I expected. The player with 2 gates rather than 1 ends up with a slightly slower Nexus here, and just a couple extra Dragoons to take map control. Ooh. Oh, getting the observer there is nice. Managing to snipe that down. Dewalt clearing the vision on his side of the map, but I'm not sure what he can do with that lack of vision for now. He's got his opponent just crammed into this natural, and there's really no way to break him here with 2 Reavers on the low ground.
Right, yeah. I mean, if he can keep sniping observers, though, that will eventually lead to a very possibility of very strong skirmishing and trades, as well as a potential bust in the future. He's going to be arriving now with a single Reaver, and look at the shuttle timing here of QiaoGege. It's not quite ready, so he'll get at least 1 or 2 Scarabs off for free here potentially, and really soften up those units. Direct hit on the Zealot and a splash hit on 4 of those Dragoons, and the second hit gets another splash connection after eliminating that Zealot as well. So yeah, some really great Scarab connections here from Dewalt. Takes a lot of phase from shots onto that shuttle Reaver combo. That's a massive Scarab on those Dragoons, taking out 3, now pouncing on top of this shuttle Reaver combo of QiaoGege. He's He's retreating backwards. The fire's being spread between all three of those units. Shuttle does eventually go down. Now will both of the Reavers. Really well played from Dewalt, and that's a really potentially massive connection on the probes there as well. I think that Scarab's going to dud out, though, unfortunately. Didn't quite kill the massive train of probes that he was looking for. Did manage to limit the count of those probes a little bit, but just killing this Nexus is more than enough for Dewalt.
Ooh. That spreading from Dewalt as he came into the natural was insanely good. The Dragoon spreading against those two Reavers, the way that he was pulling them back and making sure that none of the Scarabs were hitting more than one Dragoon. Pretty well perfect engagement there from Dewalt. Textbook tearing QiaoGege apart here with the just tiny Dragoon advantage. Managing to bust that natural. Very well done by him, and now he's in an almost unlosable position. This is Dewalt's game to lose at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotta be very careful with the Reaver, but yeah, he should be able to take a great trade as he comes down the ramp, and then, you know, hold off back at home, not allow QiaoGege to break his natural.
Yeah, this is essentially like a 9.5 to 1.5 advantage for Dewalt here. Obviously, it's a game of StarCraft. Anything can happen. I mean, who knows? Maybe the internet cables get cut as well, although I'm sure we'll give the win to Dewalt in a situation like that and not make them replay it. This is a massive advantage for Dewalt going forward. It would be great if he's keeping an observer and a Dragoon to the natural third to kind of scout for any possible shenanigans. He's going to check for ninja expansions and what have you. Just make sure there's nothing that could be done to keep QiaoGege in a good position here. So he's going to check around the map with this weakened Dragoon for any possible bases that he might have sneaked out. It is possible he used a shuttle to put a probe on the outside and go for another base that way. So he's just going to make sure he dots his I's, crosses T's, while he contains him in this natural expansion. And also, even though he's got a much lower probe count, he will mine that main base out a lot faster because of the higher probe saturation now. So the clock is ticking for our Chinese Protoss.
He's gonna pull the trigger here. Once the Reaver shuttle is out, start to try to get some good trades. Going down onto the low ground, nice snipe there on the observer. Looked like he was diving on top of that Reaver, but in fact, getting the observer kill is pretty big. Now he loses his shuttle. Uh-oh, Dewalt will lose the Reaver here to that Reaver Scarab of QiaoGege. So allowing him down onto the low ground, it's a little bit unfortunate here for Dewalt. He wasn't able to make that harder. Force QiaoGege to like dive down the ramp and take a bad trade, but Dewalt still has a huge advantage with the overwhelming Dragoon count. Plus, he's got two more Reavers here in this shuttle. Let's see if he can catch some reinforcements as well. He's coming up. Maybe going to take a fight up onto the high ground. Uh-oh. A little bit of a splitting going around that doodad. Will eventually pull those Dragoons together, though, and start to take this next fight. QiaoGege, he has to make it happen here. And now, can he take the fight of a lifetime and totally destroy this army, or is he going to have to tap out of this game?
It's definitely possible. Some great Scarab connections to start things off, though there is a little bit more to chew through than usual because of Dewalt's superior economy. He's ripping through those Dragoons of QiaoGege with his Reavers from the south now. The Chinese player in complete disarray, tuck tail and running with his shuttle and Reavers. Dangerously low HP on that utility unit escorting around those powerful artillery pieces. And I mean, it looks like Dewalt's done it. I mean, QiaoGege is getting an expansion behind this, but he is 44 supply behind, 11 workers behind. On paper, in every metric, Dewalt is ahead and should technically close out this game. Though it is a game of StarCraft, it all ultimately comes down to control and micro at the end of the day, but I'm hoping Dewalt won't fumble the ball.
Oh, it would be very difficult for him to fumble the ball at this point. Dewalt has such an advantage. Look at how many Dragoons are coming out here. Just completely overwhelming what QiaoGege has. He's got some Dragoons up here on the high ground. Kind of funny that the retreat is going to be a retreat right into the arms of defeat. There it is. Yeah. He gets completely surrounded, losing all of these Dragoons. QiaoGege hanging on with 65 supply, but he's just waiting for the final blow, and there it is. He loses the shuttle as well. So everything going wrong here at the end, and GG. is called. That was an impressive game from Dewalt, an impressive bust. I'd love to see an instant replay